So, shall we move on to our newly revamped, hopefully a lot more fun streamline? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I always enjoy them, to be honest. I'm just trying to make them a bit faster paced for people as well. So, for anyone who's not sure, before I let Carl talk about Raw, we're going to cover this week in wrestling. And the way we've decided to do it going forward, or the way we're trying it this week certainly, is that we're gonna have it in sort of three sections. So we're gonna have the card itself. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna mention what matches took place and what were the good and what were the bad out of those, in our opinion. We're gonna then cover the highlights of the night, and then the lowlights, or what I've labelled the shites of the night as well. And then hopefully that will just prove to be a little bit faster paced, because I know I certainly have a bad habit of, when I talk about a match, I'll talk about it to a level that it's like, yeah, okay, we're done with it. It wasn't much of a match anyway. Can we move on, kind of thing. So hopefully in this sense, because we're only covering the highlights, you're still getting to know what's happened in terms of the matches, but we're not going to talk in depth about necessarily all of them. So we'll give it a good go. So Carl, would you like to kick us off with the Raw results?
I certainly will. I will give it my best attempt in this new format to see how it goes. But the match card for Raw this week, we got to see Kevin Owens taking on Angel Garza. We got to see the Viking Prophets take on a group of ninjas off the back of the Backlash pay-per-view, where we saw Tozawa and the big dude.
The big 7-foot ninja.
Yeah, we get to see the combination of the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits take on 4 ninjas, one of which was Akira Tozawa. We get to see we do actually get to see Liv Morgan this week.
I know, I just moaned about her as well.
She teamed up with Natty for some reason as they took on the Iconics. The US title was defended as Apollo took on Shelton Benjamin. The WWE title was defended as basically MVP managed to weasel his way into getting R-Truth to agree on Drew's part that the WWE title would be defended in a tag team match with Drew and R-Truth taking on Lashley and MVP.
Okay.
Okay.
What was that?
Yeah, who knows? We then get to see the women's title rematch from Backlash. We get to see Asuka versus Nia Jax. And then the main event of the evening for this week's Raw was Randy Orton taking on a returning Christian, which was a big surprise. But yeah, so I think in terms of the actual matches themselves, Owens versus Garza, not a big fan, unfortunately, for the match that kicked off the show. So, you know, there's the whole fallout thing with Zelina and her little stable and stuff like that. You know, Austin Theory's fucked off now, so it's just them two. Them two aren't seeing eye to eye. I think at some point during this match or the aftermath of the match, they ended up, you know, throwing Zelina Vega onto the floor again or something by accident, and you know, she's basically had enough of it all. So they're definitely, you know, if they're not teasing these guys breaking up by now, then I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But yeah, there was too much focus on that for me.
They only really formed that team fully after Mania. Because bear in mind, Austin Theory didn't join them. I'm confident it was after Mania Austin Theory joined them. And now they split them up. It's like, well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't
It's
really
a shame
know.
that they're both capable of putting on a good match as well, but I take your point. That's for me, it was a negative as well.
Yeah, definitely just not one of the standouts for me, unfortunately. It was just too much time focused on this, you know, load of shite with the whole team breaking up and stuff like that. And you know, Kevin Owens himself is just, I don't know, he just feels like filler at this point, so I'm not massively over on it.
But don't worry,
the Viking Prophets, or many weeks going forward by the looks of it. We then get to see the team of the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits teaming up in 4-on-4 action against the Ninjas, and again, this was just another load of shite for me. Just not digging it.
I have to agree with you. I mean, for starters, if they're going to combine the names, I'm surprised it weren't the Profit Raiders. I just think that works better. Yeah. Especially because they're just there getting money from WWE for nothing, so they might as well be Profit Raiders.
Even the Street Vikings.
The Street Vikings, that would have been pretty good actually. That's better. That's the best one. But anyway, I always wanted the payoff to be the tag match, the Viking Raiders versus Street Profits for the belts. So the fact that they're teaming now and getting this sort of shit, yeah, it's a down for me as well, that one.
Yeah, I
don't want to say it
know.
down. I might be plagiarising another famous YouTube channel by saying up and down. So I'm going to just... It was a negative for me, that one.
It was a negative. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure where this whole team of ninjas has come from. I'm not really sure what it adds. I'm not really big on the Viking Raiders or the
See,
Street Profits.
this is the kind of thing I can see it now that WWE are going to get like down the line. Go, yeah, probably not the most sensitive thing to suggest that he knew a load of ninjas all Tozawa.
Well, I'm sure that's going to come back to bite my ass at some point. What we did actually see is a return of the Big Show as part of this segment. So
because naturally the ninja, that one ninja he had with him was like 7'4".
Well, exactly. So you obviously need another
Naturally.
7-foot guy, right?
Yeah,
so
I
who
forgot about
on
that.
The Big Show? So in probably his 18th face turn of the year, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, he was a heel coming out against Drew.
Wait a minute.
Now he's a good guy again, obviously. The guy who fucking turns more than fucking, I don't know. Tell me someone who turns, Anthony. Whoever it is, more than them.
Turns more than a propeller.
There you go. Yeah, so fucking hell, that guy. So he was back.
And I believe he turned heel again by the end of the match, didn't
he? Would not surprise me if that was the case.
Maybe
we then
bipolar.
got to see maybe the big polar. I don't know. We then get to see, as I mentioned before, Liv Morgan come back and teams up with Natty, which I thought was interesting. Taking on the Iconics, and I was fuming with this because, and I'll come on to it a little bit when I go through the lowlights specifically, but
you don't want to use my coin. We're going to call it lowlights, so we fine. Don't know why
sorry, the shite, which is a much better name. Yeah, so I think Liv took the pin, which was very annoying. So I was not big on this match at all. We then got the US title match, which is Apollo versus Shelton Benjamin. And I actually thought this was quite good. And there's a little bit of storyline behind this, which I think, do I cover this in the... I think I do. I do cover this in the highlights, so we'll talk about them.
Okay.
And then Drew and R-Truth for, a tag team match for the WWE title. Obviously, Drew and R-Truth win, but there's a nice bit of storyline behind that, which we'll talk about. The women's title was a load of shite. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need much more saying. It wasn't good at the pay-per-view, and it's not good now.
Well, exactly. It was a rematch from pay-per-view, and it was worse. So, there you go.
Yeah.
And then the main event of the evening was Randy Orton versus Christian, and I'll come on to that too. So, the highlights. So Orton had a really good promo to start off the show. He came out and basically, Edge helped him remember what it's like to be the Legend Killer, which I thought was pretty cool to hear him say, because obviously I do like Orton as the Legend Killer. And then speaking of legends, as I mentioned, Christian came back. Turns out he wasn't medically cleared, obviously, but Orton suggested, why don't they have an unsanctioned match? And he was going to give him till the end of the night to make up his mind.
Yeah, because that's how unsanctioned matches work, totally. Still going to televise it and stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. They're still gonna they're gonna put it in the ring and dedicate a significant portion of time, but it's not sanctioned, damn it.
No, we did not approve this.
Exactly. We also got to see this week is one of the highlights. So we mentioned that Seth Rollins had invited Rey Mysterio and his son Dominick to the show, and Dominick actually took him up on the offer this week, and he ended up absolutely battering Seth Rollins. Managed to evade the disciples as well. I thought that was quite a good little segment.
Did you, Carl?
I did actually. I thought it was quite good, the Dominic thing. The Rey Mysterio thing, however, not great. So his promo was really poor. Started speaking in Spanish, a part of it for no reason. Something about El Loco.
I mean, it works for Asuka when she starts speaking Japanese randomly. So maybe he thought he'd try the same thing.
Not so much for Rey. And then I mentioned before, so obviously R-Truth basically this started off with both Drew McIntyre and R-Truth having both of their titles on the line in a winner-take-all, which I thought was pretty funny because R-Truth had like sucking himself into it, much to the delight of MVP. But then R-Truth was like, "Don't worry, dog. I know what I've got to do." And he goes off and he comes back with some news. There's actually only one title on the line now, and it's Drew's. So, in typical R-Truth fashion, he managed to talk, get his own title off the line, but Drew's is still on the line, and Drew doesn't even have to be pinned to lose it. So I thought it was quite funny.
Does still piss me off that the 24/7 title's not
24/7
anymore.
Obviously, so that aspect of it doesn't make any sense, because why would you ever need the title to be on the line? It's 24/7.
To be honest, I mean that maybe amplifies the joke a little bit, that the one title that's always on the line is the one he got taken off. I don't know, but
maybe
even so.
But yeah, I don't know. I still thought it was quite a good comedy segment. But then there was also a little bit of like emotional aspect to it, because Truth was basically just saying he wants someone to believe in him. And in the match, it was actually Drew had MVP pinned, but he actually tagged in R-Truth and had him pick up the win to prove to him that he did believe in him, and it was quite a nice little like, "Oh, you go, Drew." So that bit was quite nice.
Truth right there.
That is the truth, literally. And then MVP is apparently trying to build a stable. So
okay.
I've actually got this as a good thing, because I'm quite happy he's not contentious being Bobby Lashley's bitch, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, yeah, it kind of makes a bit of sense to the remarks he's made since he come back as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like we dropped one stable in favor of another because the Mexican stable's gone, so that we can make room for MVP's stable to be built.
Well, yeah, maybe a bit, but I
think they probably looked at it and gone, "We really want to do the MVP stable, but we're getting stable heavy because we've already got the Disciples and the Mexican medley." So I don't know, but could still be a good thing. I'm not moaning much.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was quite interesting to see. He tries to recruit Apollo into his stable, and he was talking about like how he's silly to put his title on the line all the time, because that's how you lose the title. You should only put the title on the line when you absolutely have to. That's how you stay champion, stuff like that. And it was actually Apollo ended up winning the match by holding onto the ropes, and it was almost like he was taking the advice a little bit of MVP there, but. So I thought that was quite good. And then the last bit was some more people convincing silly people to do things that they want them to do. Is the Iconics actually managed to convince Bayley to put the tag titles on the line. I'm not sure it went for, but as part of one of the promos, that was one of the things they got agreed.
Luckily, they didn't lose them at NXT, or that would have been awkward.
Well, exactly.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Because exactly. So yeah, those are the good parts. As for the O'Shites, so Andrade and Garza cut a promo this week, and Andrade cannot fucking talk as shit, man. How on earth? Like, it's unfathomable how bad he is at English. Like, then again, Garza, who I would say is much better than Andrade on the mic, he fucked it as well. He basically was like saying, once he's beat Andrade, instead of saying once he beat Owens, and it was like, "Oh, dude, you fucked that up." And just like it's not live, is it anymore? So why just not reshoot it?
That was the best take.
Exactly. It's like you've got Edge to reshoot part of his match and injure himself, but you won't get them to fucking reshoot.
Man, this is a company who currently have enough time to stop something and tell them to redo it when it doesn't suit their agenda. Like when they told MVP to redo it because he said NXT instead of developmental talent. But no, let's just leave these fuck-ups in. Why not?
Yeah, because, nothing makes sense.
They want it to feel authentic.
Yeah. Then something which I know will make your blood boil is Lashley and MVP were having a discussion, and one of the interviewers came up to try and speak to them. And MVP was like, "Can't you see we're having a private strategic discussion in front of the fucking camera?"
Yeah, I do fucking hate that. It just makes the whole hacker thing, which they seem to have abandoned, by the way, but it just makes the whole hacker thing pointless. Like, why do you need a hacker? You're always having private conversations in front of cameras, you hapless twats.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, especially when you point out it's a private strategic conversation. God help us, if he's in front of a telly, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Stupid. That does annoy me.
And then, another shite of the week is Lashley wants a divorce now, apparently, from Lana. Also, apparently, Lana has got a hell of a cold because fucking hell was she bunged up when she was speaking on the microphone. Jesus Christ. it was all awkward to watch, to be fair. She was fucking hell. Awful.
Do you know what? She's like, I don't get what they're doing with her at all. She's like insanely overdramatic for no reason. They've had a split up with a real life husband on screen to get with Bobby to then subsequently get divorced. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that, and again, that all feels like it happened. For some reason, that whole thing was really over, the Rusev Bobby thing, but they seem to have they kept that going to the point now we're actually following the divorce as well. Like, fuck's sake. Are we gonna then follow like Lana's next bloody relationship as well?
Who knows? Who fucking knows? Well, also as part of this, MVP calls Lana a thought, which I thought, considering everything going on in the world at the minute, is that something you want to be doing?
Do you know what I love? I love the fact that a Vince McMahon, and I can't guarantee this, right? But Vince McMahon has had to be educated on what a thought is. I love that thought.
I think he knew all along. He probably started it, Vince. Let's be honest.
That's good shit.
That is good shit. But yeah, so I thought that was a bit like, cringe. But one thing that did get a little bit of a laugh was the performance center crew at ringside chanting "Jerry, Jerry" while all this was happening.
That's quality. I like it.
So I mentioned before, Big Show is back. He interrupts the Viking Prophets backstage and is like, "Well, you've got to you want to know how to solve the feud and stuff like that. Why don't you just have a match?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a really good idea. We hadn't thought of that, so they're gonna have one next week."
Okay, yeah, hadn't thought of it. Okay,
yeah, just sums up this fucking shite for me. But yeah, okay. I mentioned before, Liv took the loss. Fucking fuming. Should have been Natty all day. You then do a bit of a weird backstage segment where, Natty's like, "Oh, I can't believe you lost the match. You're inexperienced and blah, blah, blah," to Liv. And then Liv just walks off. And then Lana comes out of nowhere and is like, I completely know how it feels and I've just lost my husband and blah, blah, blah. But then they're kind of teasing, I think, a Natty and Lana tag team.
Why?
Because obviously that's what the fans want.
Also,
right?
why, if you were Natty, why would you be giving Liv shit when Liv has actually beat you clean in the ring not too long ago? Wasn't an experience then, was she?
Who knows, right?
Crazy stuff.
And then my final shite of the night is similar to the other one where they're trying to be secret and quiet. But Rick Flair is backstage with Charlotte, and they're going on. He's like, "Oh, tell me a secret in front of the camera," and then, okay, why would you do that? He basically wants to know who she hates or who she's going after at the minute or whatever. Then they woo, which is pretty bad.
Then they woo. To be honest, I want a backstage. It's never going to happen now, but I always want a backstage segment with Ric Flair, Charlotte, and Zack Ryder. Just all woos. Just the whole thing's just woos.
That would be amazing, actually. Bring Sting into it as well, just for shits and gigs. He wooed a bit.
Did he woo a bit? I think he wooed. Showing that that's the wrestling historian in you there, Carl.
Yeah, I forgot to mention as well, the main event, which I actually thought was good, to be fair. So I've obviously missed it off in the highlights section. It was obviously Christian was going up against Randy Orton. Ric Flair came out and was trying to talk Christian out of it all night, saying, Randy's a bit psycho and don't do it, you're not cleared, blah, blah, blah. And then Ric Flair actually turns on Christian and low blows him to start the match. And then Randy Orton just gives him a punk kick to the head to win the match. So it wasn't necessarily a proper in-ring return for Christian, but it was quite a fun segment.
He was in the ring.
He was, technically.
It was a return in the same way it was a return for Rick.
True that. So yeah, that was Raw this week. So that being said, I don't think it was one of the worst shows they put out. Still not great though. I think it's very middle of the road for me, so I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there or thereabouts really. I'd give it a 2 myself, but I think we're both sort of in a similar feeling towards the show. It was okay, it wasn't great. Yeah, so that's where I am with it.
This week's episode is brought to you by floriday.co.uk, where you can get all the latest news about Florida, Disney, and Universal Studios, as well as valuable tips and touring plans to get the most out of your Florida holiday. That's floriday.co.uk, the sunshine state of mind.
WWE superstar Cedric Alexander here to ask you one question, or maybe many questions. Do you like wrestling? Do you like podcasts? Do you have YouTube? Do you have Spotify? Do you have any other form of social media where you can listen to podcast? Well, then you should be listening to A to the K WrestleTalk. That's A to the K WrestleTalk. Listen to it because I said so.